And welcome to the show. I'm Chris James, your host. This is May 20th, 2017, the season number 2, episode 19. Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart, our guest last week, is now a granddad, and on his birthday, too. He now has a small girl who will grow up looking for Bigfoot along with her granddad. I finished up the show notes early for the first time ever. Then I found this article that I just had to include. Did you happen to watch the TV show called Search for Giants? Brothers Jim and Bill Vieira ran around the country uncovering all these reports of giants, only to be knocked down by these so-called experts, especially those folks at the Smithsonian who claim to know so much more about everything. The headline reads, Smithsonian admits to destruction of thousands of giant human skeletons in the early 1900s. During the court case, new evidence was brought in as several Smithsonian whistleblowers admitted to the existence of documents that allegedly proved the destruction of tens of thousands of human skeletons reaching between 6 and 12 feet in height. A reality mainstream archaeology cannot admit to for varying reasons, claims the AIAA spokesman James Sherwood. There has been a major cover-up by Western archaeological institutes since the early 1900s to make us believe that America was first colonized by Asian people migrating through the Bering Straits 15,000 years ago, when in fact there are hundreds of thousands of burial mounds all over America, which the natives claim were there a long time before them, and that show traces of highly developed civilization, complex use of metal alloys, and where giant human skeletal remains are frequently found, but still go unreported in the media and the news outlets, he explained. So why would they do such a thing? Remember what I said. If you've based your $1 million career on saying one thing, and someone comes along with a different possible history, you either have to go back to work or try to destroy your opposition. I wonder if the Vieira brothers will be receiving an apology from those rotten folks that lied and tried to block all of their efforts. The Strange Things was officially 1 year old as of April 30th. I missed the date and thought it was last Tuesday. I thought about some kind of a celebration in honor of some weird problems. For instance, the very first show was recorded. When we played it back, there was some background music that just overwhelmed the broadcast. So we went back and re-recorded the first show. Next, the Ken Gerhardt interview. I'll bet you missed that one. So did the recorder. Due to Ken's busy schedule, we had to do the interview on a Wednesday night. I must say it was the best interview I ever did. Ken knows his stuff, and I was just there to push buttons, but still, I get to put my name on the show. Well, speaking of pushing buttons, I must have hit the wrong button because the show vanished into the ether, never to be seen again. Talk about a bad night. A Saturday, we were running late from a book fair and had no time to fix any of the problems, so that show had to be canceled. And then there was the last Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart interview. We couldn't get a good phone connection for the first 15 minutes. It was just me trying to get through and everyone else running around trying to find the problem. Life goes on, and so we did get the show after a great deal of hectic activity. I edited out the messed up parts and re-archived it. Hopefully I'm getting better at this pod thing with a whole lot of practice and guidance from Arturo, who keeps rearranging the studio every few weeks. Someday I'll get around to finishing painting the studio. I have 2 walls done and 2 more to go. I thought when I retired I'd have all kinds of time to do things I like. I sometimes think I need a full-time job just so I can relax again. Way back, when I was young, our dad would drive around the country, and when it suited him, he would stop to have a look at some oddity on the side of the road. Back then, the main highways were usually 2 lanes, and you had to drive through every small town out there. This led to an industry that is vanishing as interstates avoid any small towns, but you still get stuck in traffic in all the gigantic cities. Why they don't build a loop around Austin, I don't know. I've driven in Monterrey, Mexico, and I'd much rather drive there than Austin any day. And getting back to the subject of tonight's show, there were some attractions that just cried out for attention. So let's have a look at just a few. The world's largest ball of twine, and it's still growing. In Cawker City, Kansas, is the over 19,000 pounds and somewhere over 7 million feet of sisal twine. Frank Strober started this ball by winding 1.6 million feet of twine into an 11-foot diameter sphere. Why did he do it? Who knows? One day he might have been putting away a bit of string. If you think you might need to secure something down the road, you hang on to things like this. Being a small town, it wasn't always easy to nip over to the hardware store each and every time you wanted something. As the ball grew, one day it went from an "I might need this someday" to an "I'm going to see how big I can make this" project. At some point, the ball got so big he could no longer move it. From that point on, it became somewhat of an attraction. Hey, have you seen that big ball of twine Mr. Strober has? Maybe we should go have a look before he gets rid of it. So the ball sat there, and Mr. Strober added to it whenever he had a handful of twine. When he died in 1974, Cawker City built an open-air gazebo over Strobels Ball. Every August, they have a twine-a-thon, which is held, and more twine is added to the ball. By 2006, the twine ball had reached 17,886 pounds. That's 8.9 tons. And it had a circumference of 40 feet. The length was guesstimated at 7,801,766 feet. Someday, somebody is going to challenge the length, and they'll have to go unwind it and measure the darn thing. That will be a whole different attraction. In 2013, its weight was estimated at 19,973 pounds. August 2014, the ball measured 41.42 feet in circumference, 8.6 feet in diameter, and 10.83 feet in height, and it's still growing. We're going to take a break here and play a couple of commercials and drink some coffee, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to Arcanasa Radio. Do you have skin? Would you like to take better care of it? Call Lourdes James, independent beauty consultant, and set up an appointment. Call 723-3019. If your vision isn't what it used to be, and you're not sure you're seeing Bigfoot or just your neighbor mowing his lawn, stop on by Del Norte Optical, 107 Calle del Norte, just across the street from the Embassy Suites. You should be able to see what you're looking at. Are you looking for a great cup of coffee, but you just don't know where to look? Swing on by the Organic Man Coffee Truck. 1002 Eater Vitae, suite number 7. They serve only the best coffee around. Not into coffee? They also have a wide selection of teas. It's a great place to meet friends or just spend time with a good book. The Organic Man Coffee Tribe. Life is too short to drink bad coffee.
Oh, don't say goodbye. Stay with us. This is Arcanasa Radio. Quédate con nosotros. Estás escuchando Arcanasa Radio.
You're listening to Strange Things with Chris James. And welcome back to the show. Tonight we're trying something just a little bit different. If you happen to be listening live and you notice that the commercials are a bit too loud or the music is a bit loud, I noticed one show the music was painfully loud, send me a message on Facebook at Strange Things and I'll try to get the problem fixed. I don't hear exactly the same thing that y'all hear, so you might be hearing something a lot different from me. Let me know. Just like I said, send a text message to Strange Things with Chris James, and we'll try to get the problems ironed out. Now back to that giant ball of twine. The ball contains only sisal twine. The sisal twine is made from the fibers of the agave plant, grown best in tropical or subtropical areas. Sisal is best known and used for keeping small bales of hay together. Where exactly is the ball of twine located? They say you can't miss it. As you enter Carhenge City, when traveling along U.S. Highway 24 from either direction, you'll spot the ball of twine on the south side of town. The Welcome to Carhenge City sign also announces it is the home of the world's largest ball of twine, in great big letters. In Branson, Missouri, a ball of nylon twine built by J.C. Payne of Valley View, Texas, is on display. It's in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. The ball, which measures 41.5 feet in circumference, is certified as the world's largest ball of nylon twine by the Guinness Book of World Records in 1993. It is, however, the lightest of the four contenders, only weighing 12,000 pounds. Now, we've all heard of Stonehenge, over there in England, which leads to the creation of Stonehenge in Ingram, Texas, and the creation of Foamhenge, which is in Virginia. And then in Nebraska, there's Carhenge. Carhenge was conceived in 1987 by Jim Reinders as a memorial to his father. The full-scale replica of England's famous Stonehenge is built entirely from old cars. There are 38 cars, all painted gray. Some of the vehicles are half buried, and others are welded together. Some jut from the ground at odd angles, mimicking the present configuration of Stonehenge. While living in England, Reinders had studied the structure of Stonehenge, which helped him to copy the structure's shape, proportions, and size. Other automobile sculptors were subsequently added to the location of Carhenge, which is now known as the Car Art Reserve. Reinders donated the 10 acres site to the Friends of Carhenge. In 2011, the Friends of Carhenge listed the attraction for sale for $300,000. In 2013, the Friends of Carhenge donated the site to the Citizens of Alliance. If you want to go have a look for yourself, drive 2.5 miles north of Alliance, Nebraska on Highway 87. You'll see it on the side of the road. What's that? You don't know there's a Stonehenge in Texas? The structure started out in a field out front of Al Shepard's property. A friend of his, Doug Hill, had built a patio and wound up with one extra huge stone block. Not knowing what to do with it, Hill offered it to Shepard. Once Shepard realized he didn't know what to do with it either, he simply had the stone stood on end out on his property. Well, people said it kind of reminded them of Stonehenge. So Shepard went about manufacturing some more stones, only these were made out of plaster and with steel frames. Soon, the Texas Stonehenge was complete. The henge is 90% as wide as the original and only 60% as tall. Not wanting to stop once the circle was finished, the Shepherd had two large moai built to represent Easter Island. Those great big heads with the little bitty forehead and the great big chin, those are moai. People driving by could park on the side of the road and wander about looking at the unusual sight. My wife and I made the 210-mile drive one afternoon, and it was quite a sight to see. Shepard was going to continue with totem poles and other art projects, but he died before any other pieces could be added. The property went up for sale, and the new owner were intent on tearing down the roadside attraction. It didn't fit in with their plans. The Hill Country Arts Foundation in Ingram rallied to Stonehenge's defense. They bought the monument, Easter Island heads and all, and they moved all 75 pieces 8 miles to the east. In 2011, Doug Hill's creation debuted in its new home near the small river and some softball fields in town. Now the Texas Stonehenge is closer to our home by a whole 8 miles. And yes, we've been back to see it a few times. If you find yourself in Kerrville or anywhere close by, just take Junction Highway or Highway 39 west and look for Point Theater Road south. If you can't find the place, just ask anybody for directions. Ingram is a very small town. Foamhenge is a full-scale styrofoam replica of Stonehenge. It is a popular roadside attraction conceived and built by artists Mart that opened in April 1st, 2004 in the Natural Bridge, Virginia. It was originally meant as a April Fool's joke. Foamhenge was relocated to Centerville, Virginia in 2017, which puts it a little too close to Washington, D.C. for my likes. Foamhenge was created in 2004 by Mark Klein of Enchanted Castle Studio as an April Fool's stunt to generate tourism. The idea for Foamhenge came to Mark in 1998 when he was inspired by a 16-foot-tall foam block that he saw at a local insulation manufacturer. Mark had the concept and materials, but then he needed a location for his creation. In 2004, he had an agreement with the Natural Bridge for rent-free land with the intention of attracting tourism to both sites. Foamhenge is designed to match Stonehenge with the similarly sized pieces and all the correct astronomical equal coordinations. The stones are composed completely of styrofoam, which is painted gray. Each piece is stabilized with an embedded 2.5-inch diameter pipe that extends from the top through the piece and is anchored into concrete footing below. The entire structure was assembled in about 10 days, as opposed to Stonehenge construction period of about 1,000 years. Since we're going to be back in Virginia this summer, we'll have to go and have a look at this replica as well, and see if the Stonehenge in Ingram looks as cool or even cooler. The Carhenge is sometimes mistaken for the Cadillac Ranch, which is out near Amarillo, Texas. Now I know the Spanish word for yellow is Amarillo, And yes, the town did get its name from the Spanish word. The city was once the self-proclaimed helium capital of the world, for having one of the country's most productive helium fields. Everybody living there sounded like Donald Duck because of the helium. Okay, I just made that up. But we do have the National Helium Reserve, also known as the Federal Helium Reserve. It is a strategic reserve of the United States holding over 1 billion cubic meters of helium gas, just in case we ever need to all talk like Donald Duck. Why do we have National Reserve of Helium? I have no idea. The city of Amarillo is also known as the Yellow Rose of Texas, just like in the song. Getting back to the Cadillac Ranch. It's not really a ranch, but an art project. It was created in 1974 by Chip Lord, Hudson Marquez, and Doug Michaels, who were members of the art group Ant Farm. The project consisted of what were at the time either used or junked Cadillac automobiles, representing a number of evolutions of the car line. You can compare one to another and see how the tail fins came and went. The sculpture consists of 10 Cadillacs, all lined up and nose down in the ground. The first car is a 1949 and the last is a 1963. The sculpture started out in a wheat field, but it was moved in order to get it farther from the growing city. Now it stands in a cow field. If you'd like to take in this one-of-a-kind site, just go to 12601 West Interstate 40, Amarillo, Texas, and just west of Amarillo. The Thing. What is the Thing? The Thing is an Arizona roadside attraction hyped by signs along Interstate 10 between El Paso and Tucson, Arizona. A large number of billboards entice travelers along this sparse stretch of desert highway to stop just to find out what the mysterious thing might be. The object supposedly is a mummified mother and child, but it's believed to have actually been made by exhibit creator Homer Tate for a sideshow. The thing was purchased by Thomas Prince in mid-20th century, who quickly based a tourist attraction around the strange object. Although Prince died in 1969, the attraction was run by his wife Janet for many years. Today, the site is under the ownership of Bolin Travel Centers, Incorporated. Despite its remoteness, the attraction is very popular. It appeared in several tourist guides and has been subject of several news stories and reports. If you look at the thing, it looks kind of like the mummified remains of a person holding what just might have been a child under one arm. Kind of. Well, if you're not really good with things like that, or you're kind of young, it looks like a mummy. That and the glass case it sits in is just foggy enough to trick your eye, if you don't squint too much. They also have other attractions to look at, like a 1937 Rolls Royce, or how about a diorama depicting a torture chamber? If you've ever driven between El Paso and Tucson, you'd know there's just a whole lot of nothing to see, so finding this roadside attraction has got to be a plus. You can stop and get gas, and then go look at the attractions. Plus, there's a Dairy Queen right next door if you get hungry. The thing is located just off I-10 at exit 322 between Benson and Wilcox and Dragoon, Arizona. This harkens back to the good old days of the carnival attractions like the Minnesota Iceman, who is now on display in the Museum of the Weird in Austin. If it wasn't for the awful traffic in Austin, I'd head up there right now and have a look. Fouke, Arkansas, they have the one and only Monster Mart. If you can find Fouke, you really can't miss the Monster Mart. My wife and I were on our way to Virginia to visit family, and seeing as we were going to drive right through Texarkana, we decided to take a quick side trip to Fouke. There was just a whole lot of construction in Texarkana, and so we missed the turn, maybe 10 times. There was not a single sign pointing to Highway 49 South. Not a one. We drove around trying to follow the GPS, but the turns were not there. Maybe an hour later, we found ourselves heading south on 49, but it was quite thoroughly by accident. As I said, if you can find Fouke, you can't miss the Monster Mart. There's a huge depiction of Sasquatch on the roof. Huge as in it covers the entire roof. You can stop and get gas, which I probably should have done, and then you go inside and check out the souvenirs. T-shirts and bumper stickers, coffee cups and posters. They have a book selection that features Smoky Crabtree's and Lyle Blackburn's books. If you're hungry, they serve pizza and sandwiches. This is a convenience store with a Sasquatch theme. They were fixing things up when we stopped. The back room is turning into a museum with newspaper articles and photographs. A really cool place to visit if you find yourself in the area. The movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, was filmed in Fouke, Arkansas, and we decided that it would be really neat to take a drive and see this historical site. Turn right. You can't miss it, she said. We seemed to miss it somehow. I was pulling an RV, but how often do you get to see an historical site like this? We drove down a narrow road and soon found that we had thoroughly missed the creek. It isn't all that big. Now I couldn't get turned around. The road was narrow and there were no side roads that looked any better. Well, we figured all roads must lead somewhere, so we decided to just keep going the direction we were headed. Soon, I was driving along some country roads with fields on both sides and not a town in sight. We drove, and as the sun was slipping behind the horizon, I saw the gas gauge light come on. Well, we probably drove at least 50 miles through the countryside. Towing the trailer kind of kills the mileage. When all appeared to be lost, we found a small town with one gas station. I put 20 gallons of gas into a 20-gallon tank. Next time we go, I'm taking either Brian MP or Lyle Blackburn with us. If you attend the Texas Bigfoot Conference in Jefferson, Texas, it's only 63 miles to visit the Monster Mart, and they usually have a outing that heads over there on a Sunday. And start making plans to attend right now. You've only got 21 weeks to go before the Bigfoot Conference in Texas. With that, we're going to take a brief pause here, play a couple of commercials. Don't go away, we'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Arcanasa Radio. Do you have skin? Would you like to take better care of it? Call Lourdes James, independent beauty consultant, and set up an appointment. Call 723-3019. If your vision isn't what it used to be, and you're not sure you're seeing Bigfoot or just your neighbor mowing his lawn, stop on by Del Norte Optical, 107 Calle Del Norte, just across the street from the Embassy Suites. You should be able to see what you're looking at. serve only the best coffee around. Not into coffee? They also have a wide selection of teas. It's a great place to meet friends or just spend time with a good book. The Organic Man Coffee Truck. Life is too short to drink bad coffee.
No, don't say goodbye. Stay with us. This is Arcanasa Radio. Quédate con nosotros. Estás escuchando Arcanasa Radio.
You're listening to Strange Things with Chris James.
And welcome back to the show. Up north in Poland, Wisconsin, is the UFO Landing Port. The port consists of a tall metal structure designed to accommodate a small or mid-sized craft. It rises up into the sky atop an old disused oil tank which has been stood on end. The builder and owner is Bob Tohak. He has a nice eye-catching sign, so any passing spacecraft will know just what the structure is for. It's something I believed in ever since I was a kid, that there was somebody else out there, he said. On the back of a photo he hands out to everyone is a printed label which states, "There is a U.S. law which specifically forbids contact with extraterrestrials." Bob views this as evidence of a conspiracy. He gives a copy of the photo to everyone who visits. Bob erected the tank in 1994. Then a year later, he topped it with a welded steel landing platform, outlined with flashing blue lights, just like at the airport. His structure is supposed to be able to support a helicopter or a flying saucer should one ever come his way. The landing port is just east of Green Bay, Wisconsin, on Keowani Road. The UFO Watchtower is an observation platform, campground, and gift shop, which is just north of Hooper, Colorado. The Watchtower, which has a 360-degree view of the San Luis Valley, was created by Judy Messelin in May of 2000 to capitalize on the existing use of her property by UFO observers. The UFO Watchtower stands in the middle of the San Luis Valley, just north of Hooper, Colorado. The cost is $2 if you want to just enjoy the view, and if you want to use one of the campsites, it's $10. The tower opened in the summer of 2000. Judy didn't really expect anyone to see anything from up there, other than the distant mountain range and the stars at night. What she didn't know was that the San Luis Valley is revered among flying saucer buffs as one of the best places in the world to see UFOs. And Judy's Watchtower is right in the middle of it. The faithful flocked to Judy's property and made it a popular stopover. To her surprise, other valley residents began stopping by as well, telling her their stories and using Judy as a kind of UFO counselor. If you didn't know these people, you'd think they were crazy, she said. Judy began writing down what she had been told, and now the stories fill several binders inside the gift shop, which also stocks a healthy selection of bug-eyed alien souvenirs. Right next to the souvenir shop is Judy's healing garden, which spreads out from the dome's back door. Judy says that over 20 psychics have visited over time, and they all said that there are 2 large vortexes out there. The vortices have been outlined with rocks and things. What kind of things? Toy flying saucers, toy monsters, plaster skulls, just to name a few. The vortexes have been outlined with rocks, and the garden has grown around them. It's kind of an organized clutter of items left by visitors. CDs, sunglasses, hubcaps, stuffed toys, and a lot of pens. Judy explained matter-of-factly that anyone who leaves something personal in the garden is entitled to make a request, and that there are two large beings there who protect the entrance to the vortexes. But they are also there to help. According to Judy, the success to request rate has been quite good. Oh, I looked it up. You can use either vortices or vortexes. They're both considered correct. Located 2.5 miles north of Hooper, Colorado, population 103, on Highway 17, just watch for the alien signs. Primitive camping is available. That means no electricity and no water, just a tent and the ground under it. I'll bet she'd let us park our camper there overnight at least. Next, there's the UFO Welcome Center. It is a tourist site found in Bowman, South Carolina. It was built in the backyard of Jody Pendarvis, and it consists of a 42-foot wide flying saucer built out of wood and fiberglass and plastic. You enter the structure by climbing a powered ramp, which is mounted on 4 columns, and it's designed to raise and lower. In addition to a maze of mechanical and electrical parts salvaged from around town, the saucer is furnished with a bed, satellite television, and air conditioning. There's also a toilet and a shower. Pendarvis envisions herself as being the ambassador to any aliens wanting a place they could rest after a long journey on board their flying saucer. Construction on the saucer began in 1994, and it quickly became the local tourist attraction. They were charging a $1 entry fee. 2003, Pendarvis added a smaller saucer, about 20 feet in width, to the top of the original structure, and then began living in the saucer during the summer when it's cooler in the saucer than in her nearby mobile home. Now the admission price has risen to $20. Now the whole thing does look an awful lot like a junkyard, especially with the corrugated iron fence, but it's still better than anything I could have built. If you want to check it out, or you know of some aliens who need to check in, the Welcome Center is at 4004 Homestead Road, Bowman, South Carolina, between Charleston and Columbia on Old Charleston Highway, which is near Interstate 26. Will and Sandra Morrison own the Mystery Hole in Ansted, West Virginia. The original owner, Donald Wilson, discovered this mysterious place back in 1972. He ran it and did quite a good business with tourists who were visiting the New River Gorge, and they would stop by to check out his attraction. Wilson closed the attraction in 1996, just shortly before his own death. The hole was unattended for years, allowing time and visiting vandals to take their toll. The Morrisons have put in a lot of hard work and money in an effort to restore the hole to its glory days of the 70s. They moved from Michigan and began working from old photographs and memories of the local folks. Using what they could find, borrow, or build, they managed to reopen the attraction and are now in business. Visitors pay to tour the hole, which is located underneath the Quonset hut that holds the gift shop. Once you pay your admission fee, you're allowed to walk outside and around the corner to the entrance. There's a stairway that leads down into the unknown. Over the entrance is a large clown painted on a piece of plywood, along with a set of rules and regulations. It says, "An experience that will intrigue you for the rest of your life," as well as, "Nature's gravity seems to have gone haywire, and your sense of balance is extremely upset." And it also says, "If your heart can take it, see the laws of nature defied." The biggest sign of all lists the rules of the hole, which includes no cameras or cell phones. People with heart ailments, vertigo, or high blood pressure do not enter. They're not responsible for accidents or after effects. Shoes are recommended. Some folks will balk at not being allowed to take photos. Consider the owners who have sunk their time and money into fixing up the place. They have to make a living, and if the entire place is photographed and videotaped, most people won't visit, opting to catch it on the cheap by watching YouTube. If you'd like to check out the place, take US Highway 60 west out of Anstead, West Virginia. Look for mile marker 44 just west of Hawks Nest State Park. Their hours are Wednesday through Monday, 10:30 to 6 p.m. in the summertime. They tend to reduce their hours in the winter. Call ahead to make sure they'll be open. You can get the phone off the internet. The Abita Mystery House is a roadside attraction located in the heart of Abita Springs, Louisiana. It's maintained by artist and inventor John Preble, whose inspiration came from Tinkertown Museum in New Mexico. It offers thousands of folk art objects, ranging from miniatures and pottery to Louisiana-themed sculptures like Darrell the Doggigator. Doggigator, it's half dog and half alligator sculpture. And Edmund the Allisapien, half alligator, half Homo sapien. Originally called the UCM Museum, till its official name change in 2007, the house entrance is a vintage gas station with filling pumps and bright decor, which leads to an open-air section and the main exhibit hall, a 90-year-old Creole cottage, and the House of Shards, among other attractions. The Mystery House is unique in that it bears a particularly odd aesthetic, drawing alternative crowds with an eye for the strange. John Bullard, director of the New Orleans Museum of Art, has even gone as far as to say that the Abita Mystery House is the most intriguing and provocative museum in Louisiana. The inside is packed with interesting and oddball items you won't find anywhere else. Out back, you'll find there's an old Airstream trailer with a flying saucer crashed into the side. Folks drive from all over to visit this unique collection of artwork. If bizarre is your thing, you need to check this place out. The Abita Mystery House is located at 22275 Highway 36, Abita Springs, Louisiana, which is on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain, just across from New Orleans. If you're traveling on Highway 10 en route to Florida, and you decide you don't want to go through New Orleans, you take a side road that will take you right through Abita. It's worth stopping and having a look. Now, the next one isn't always a roadside attraction because it's mobile. I need to take a deep breath and a shot of coffee for this next one. Erica Nelson is the creator of the world's largest collection of the world's smallest versions of the world's largest things, traveling roadside attraction and museum. Try saying that. She travels the U.S. looking for monsters of the road, such as the world's largest ketchup bottle, or the largest ball of yarn, or even the world's biggest hairball from the world's biggest cat. She then photographs and makes a world's smallest version of the beforesaid world's largest thing. Once a world's largest thing has been researched, she visits the site, takes lots of photographs, and then a tiny replica of the thing is created. Once the replica is produced, It is added to the window display of the traveling roadside attraction. When possible, Erica will take the world's smallest version back to its parent world's largest thing, take a photograph of the big with the small. The replicas and the photos are then displayed inside the traveling museum as well as online. The world's smallest version of the world's largest things are made from a variety of materials. For example, the replica of the world's largest ball of rubber bands, Nelson used the smallest rubber bands she could find, which she had gathered from an orthodontist's office. Nelson typically travels alone, supplementing the tours with speaking engagements and community events, bringing art to the public and encouraging the celebration of those quirky, unique things that combat generation. I think she made that last word up. Erica Nelson is an artist, educator, and one of America's foremost experts and speakers on the world's largest things. In addition to traveling to communities with her own unique traveling museum, Erica Nelson is a consultant to cities and chambers of commerce seeking to create their own world's largest thing or roadside attraction to increase tourism, marketing, and economic development for their community. She has a miniature version of Carhenge. It looks like the original, and she has a photograph of the miniature Carhenge sitting out front of the original. The world's largest ball of twine is also represented as the world's smallest ball of twine that is a replica of the world's largest ball of twine. When out on the road, Erica and the world's largest collection of the world's smallest versions of the world's largest things, van, can be found at 226 Kansas Avenue, Lucas, Kansas. You start at her front porch and follow the boardwalk through the outdoor display area and subsequently to the art car yard. Head west on Topeka, Kansas, out of Topeka, Kansas, on Interstate 70. Drive until you come to 81 and turn north. Turn west onto 18 and then drive into Lucas. The town is north of Wilson Lake. With that, we're going to take a break, play a couple of commercials. We'll be right back after this, so don't go away.
You're listening to Arcanasa Radio. Do you have skin? Would you like to take better care of it? Call Lourdes James, independent beauty consultant, and set up an appointment. Call 723-3019. If your vision isn't what it used to be, and you're not sure you're seeing Bigfoot or just your neighbor mowing his lawn, stop on by Del Norte Optical, 107 Calle del Norte, just across the street from the Embassy Suites. You should be able to see what you're looking at. Are you looking for a great cup of coffee, but you just don't know where to look? Swing on by the Organic Man Coffee Truck, 1002 Eater Vide, Suite number 7. They serve only the best coffee around. Not into coffee? They also have a wide selection of teas. It's a great place to meet friends or just spend time with a good book. The Organic Man Coffee Truck. Life is too short to drink bad coffee.
No, don't say goodbye. Stay with us. This is Arcanasa Radio. Quédate con nosotros. Estás escuchando Arcanasa Radio.
You're listening to Strange Things with Chris James.
Welcome back to the show. Now, this next roadside attraction is somewhat of a legend, as well as being more than a roadside attraction. A small town drugstore made its first step towards fame when it was purchased by Ted Husted in 1931. Husted was a Nebraska native and pharmacist who was looking for a small town with a Catholic church in which to establish his business. He bought Wall Drug, located in a 231-person town in what he refers to as the middle of nowhere, and strove to make a living. Business was very slow until his wife, Dorothy, thought of advertising free ice water to parched travelers heading to the newly opened Mount Rushmore Monument, which was 60 miles to the west. From that time on, business was brisk. Wall Drug grew into a cowboy-themed shopping mall department store. Wall Drug included a Western art museum, a chapel based on the one found in New Mellery Abbey near Dubois, Iowa, and an 80-foot Apatosaurus, used to be known as a Brontosaurus when I was younger, that can be seen right off of Interstate 90. It was designed by Emmett Sullivan, who also created the dinosaurs at Dinosaur Park in Rapid City and Dinosaur World in Arkansas. Wall Drug earned much of its fame from its self-promotion. Billboards advertising the establishment can be seen for hundreds of miles throughout South Dakota and some neighboring states. In addition, many visitors of Wall Drug have erected signs throughout the world announcing the miles to Wall Drug from famous locations. 1981, Wall Drug was claiming it was giving away 20,000 cups of ice water a day during the peak tourist season, lasting from Memorial Day until Labor Day, and also during the hottest days of the month, the summer. Most of Wall Drug's advertisement billboards can be found on an approximately 650-mile-long stretch of Interstate 90, which runs from Minnesota to Billings, Montana. To date, Wall Drug still offers free ice water, but as they have become more popular, they have started to offer free bumper stickers and signs to aid in their promotion. Their coffee is only 5 cents a cup. We gotta go. 5-cent coffee? Some popular free bumper stickers read, "Where the heck is Wall Drug?" "How many miles to Wall Drug?" and "Where in the world is Wall Drug?" They don't just sell drugs. They have food, books, souvenirs, t-shirts, all kinds of things to take home for those less fortunate who couldn't make the trip. So where is this bizarre, to say the least, Wall Drugs? Right on the northern border of the Badlands National Park off Interstate 90. If you're in South Dakota, just follow the signs. The Enchanted Highway is a collection of the world's largest scrap metal sculptures constructed at intervals along a 32-mile stretch of two-lane highway in southwestern part of North Dakota. The road has no highway number, although its northern portion is 100.5 Avenue southwest. You count from Bismarck, North Dakota, which is 85 miles to the east. Local artist Gary Greff conceived of the project and began construction in 1989. He maintains it and he plans more sculptures. His goal is to counter the trend towards extinction of small towns such as Regent, North Dakota. The Enchanted Highway extends north from Regent to Gladstone exit off Interstate 94 east Dickinson. Each sculpture has a parking spot, and several of them have picnic shelters. The highway passes through scenic farm country with intermittent buttes. Regent is a popular pheasant hunting area, and wild game is abundant. Along the side of the road, you'll see a giant metal grasshopper, a school of metal muskie, metal ducks flying either north or south, depending how you look at them, and a whole lot of other fanciful sculptures, all there for your viewing pleasure. The sculptures are along the side of 219 West Main Street, Regent, North Dakota. You'll have to go to their site in order to get directions. It's kind of weird. How so? Like I said, the road doesn't have a number. The map simply shows a pin stuck out in the middle of nowhere. So you have to go to Regent, North Dakota, and then try and zero in from there. In 2012, Greff opened a motel, the Enchanted Castle, which is in Regent. The motel continues the theme of the Enchanted Highway. It started out life as an old high school, and now it looks like a castle. If you're one of those folks that likes to stay in Hilton hotels, you might not want to spend the night. However, if you're like me and you go for strange things, stop on by and spend the night. It will give you tales to tell when you get back home. The Garden of 1,000 Buddhas is a spiritual site near Arley, Montana, within the Flathead Indian Reservation in Lake County, Montana. It is currently under construction. The monument portion of the site is 750 square feet, and the surrounding garden is spread across 10 acres of land. It is intended to be a pilgrimage destination for the Western Hemisphere, and it's expected by its builder to become a major place of worship for people of any faith. It is free to the public, and it's going to feature over 1,000 Buddha statues. The garden was founded by Gochen Tulka Sangag Rinpoche, a Tibetan master of the Nyingma school of Buddhism. Following a tradition of Buddhist method, Sangag claims to have chosen the location immediately upon seeing it, recalling a prophetic dream from his youth which corresponded to the garden's landscape. Subsequently, Sangag nonprofit organization, EWAM, received the land in an anonymous donation by one of Rinpoche's disciples, and then construction began in 2000. Currently, volunteers maintain the grounds, raise publicity, and are casting the 1,000 statues from concrete. The 1,000 stupas required for the site's design are already finished. The largest statue, a representation of the goddess Tara, stands at the garden's center. 2010 report estimated 450 of the 1,000 Buddhas had been completed, and they're being stored in a barn until all the statues are ready for placement. Since then, many more have likely been sculpted in anticipation of the visit and consecration from the 14th Dalai Lama when the garden is completed. Driving directions from north from Missoula, Montana. From US 190 north, turn north onto Highway 93. Travel 19 miles north, 2 miles past Arley. Turn east, which is to the right, on White Coyote Road. Continue a half a mile. Turn left at 34756 White Coyote Road. Watch for signs and directions for parking. 34574 White Coyote Road, Arley, Montana. The 1,000 Buddha collection. The Yooper's Tourist Trap. Yooper, which is derived from the initials UP, defined as a native or resident of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. If you watch The Curse of Oak Island, you will hear either Marty or Rick refer to themselves as being Yoopers. And so you have the Yoopers Tourist Trap. They have a gift shop and a small museum of artifacts. But the best attractions are outside. Big Gus, the world's largest working chainsaw, sits on a rise pointing towards the highway. Big Gus is 23 feet long and is powered by a V8 engine. Even larger is Big Ernie, the world's largest working rifle. Big Ernie is said to have fired a rock wrapped in duct tape 2.5 miles into a cornfield. But it will probably never be fired again because the recoil and the shock wave knocked Ernie off of his truck and blew out the windows of a nearby farmhouse. Gravel Gertie is the largest motorized tricycle in all of Michigan and maybe the world, and they have Eddie the wood-burning tractor, which was built in Sweden in the 1940s since all the gas was being used by those nasty invaders. They also carry a wide selection of Yooper technology, like a Yooper calculator that kinda looks like a pair of hands. Artwork done by local artists. T-shirts, of course. It wouldn't be a souvenir shop without T-shirts. A ton of things to spend your hard-earned cash on, so when you get home, you'll have plenty of memories. If you just as soon make your memories at home, you can visit their online website and do your shopping from home. The money you save on gas can go into more memories of places you've never been. If, on the other hand, you prefer your memories to be real, then take a drive west of Marquette on U.S. Route 41 until you get to 490 North Steel Street, Ishpeming, Michigan. Look for a giant rifle mounted in the bed of a truck. Now, there are tons more obscure and bizarre roadside attractions, so we'll have to do a second show sometime later. Next Saturday, we're going to be talking about some haunted hotels. So until then, enjoy the drive.